other panelists, so it's.
Sir, yeah, I'm supposed to be moderating the session, so I once again welcome on behalf of entire viewers and all the esteemed panelists on the discussion to this session on promoting skills and entrepreneurship, and we are very glad and delighted to.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. This is Rakhi Gupta from CII.
Yeah.
Welcome you to the plenary for promoting skills and entrepreneurship. We are very happy to welcome Mr. Atul Kumar Tiwari, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Information Broadcasting, Dr. Anuj Thakur, President and Executive Director, Aptech Limited, Ms. Grace Marine, Managing Director, Experience Transformation Extended Reality Leading Center India, Mr. Rajesh R. Turakia, Founder and Director, Framebox, Mr. Shrikant Sinha, CEO, Telangana Academy of Skills and Knowledge, Mr. B.S. Srinivas, Secretary, ABI, GOK Center of Excellence in Animation, Visual Effects, Gaming and Comics Sector, Bangalore. May I request Mr. Srinivas to kindly moderate the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicky. Thank you so much. So once again, welcoming you, sir, and all the esteemed panelists. And I would now request Honorable Additional Secretary, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Mr. Atul Kumar Tiwari, to address the viewers and the panelists with some words on the AVG sector and what route we can look forward to.
Thank you, Srinivas. Good morning, fellow panelists, eminent dignitaries, industry members, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, the Global EVG Summit with the topic of innovation, accelerate and transform is very topical. Promoting skills and entrepreneurship, particularly in knowledge economy, our 21st century requires an attitudinal change embedded on a plan of action based on considered policy. And here I would like to refer to the National Education Policy, which stresses on complete reimagination of how vocational education and skilling is perceived and is offered to students in future. It estimates that at least 20% of learners through the school and higher education system by 2025 shall have exposure of vocational education for which a clear action plan with targets and timelines is being developed. Srinivas, you were talking about the EVGC Council, and this is an area where we'd like to interact with the Education Ministry so that we have a clear path, goals, and action plan there. If the 50% of learners, which means around 175 million young people, if all of them are going to get trained in a vocation of their choice, and assuming that even 10% of them choose media and entertainment as their sector, we are talking about a serious number and a huge source of high quality manpower, which will be available for global industry. Recently addressing a conclave on transformational reforms in higher education and the National Education Policy, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said that the policy will lay foundation for 21st century India, New India, which he says we are now moving from what to think to how to think approach in our education system. So with that, what I mean is that now this artificial division between vocational and proper education is bound to disappear, and we'll get more and more quality education institutions so that we create skilling and training for the AVGC sector. The past investments in higher education and the quality of India's professionals are our assets, but we also require constant upscaling and upskilling of the workforce to maintain the current growth momentum. Owing to the digital disruption, the world of media entertainment is changing with a new composition in the workforce in an increasingly digital environment. And I'm happy that online gaming industry has been the fastest growing segment, followed by digital advertisement, digital subscriptions, animation, and VFX. The animation industry continues to grow on the back of content demand from television, digital platform commercials, and films. However, the issue of skill gap remains, and in the next 10 years, the AVG sector will require 24,000 professionals with a graduate degree or above and there will be around 16,000 students graduating from recognized degree awarding institutions. But we can learn from the states, as I was saying, Srinivas, and we can learn from the states like Karnataka to help build the skill pool in the sector, have a holistic and integrating approach to AVGC education across all subsegments, and work with the industry stakeholders to set up institutions for skilling. Yesterday, we were talking about the Center of Excellence on AVGC, which we are trying to collaborate with IIT Mumbai. They have an outfit called IDC, and they have shown keenness to take it up. So by that, on the one hand, we'll also have the avant-garde professionals in the AVGC sector. At the same time, we'll also have the skilled workforce, which may come out of this institution. And this may, we hope, to become a kind of a benchmark for skilling of AVGC sector. We must realize that the real winner is the content creation. And as my friend Ashish was saying, it is about the it is the Imagineering which we are talking about. And like our culture icons like the Bhim, which has been such a success, our traditional crafts and games, and our innate love from stories right from Jataka onwards, our rich tapestry of culture and language and folklore to create content. And we realize for this, focusing on IP creation will become very important. And by doing all that, we need to envelop the mindscape, and India can become global creative content creator. And that is where the real challenge lies. We need to continue our focus on learning, research, and innovation. And we have the, Mr. Turakia is a member of the MSEC also, Media and Entertainment Skill Council also. And they have also been going around. And we would encourage from the government side all the innovative ideas which you can work upon and take this AVGC sector, what is being hoped that it will lead to around ₹1 trillion turnover by 2025. The government should not speak much, so I will keep a hold on what I speak. I will rather hear the other parties and try to learn from them and see if we can do something at the government level by a multidisciplinary, multi-ministerial approach. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your wonderful address. And as you rightly said, this sector is the sunrise sector of the country, and the central government and the department is taking a lot of steps to encourage it. National AVGC Council for Skill Development. And we would sincerely request you to stay back for the entire panel and spend your time listening to what the industry experts have to talk about entrepreneurship and skill development in the AVGC sector.
Certainly, it will be my privilege to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. So, so with your permission, I would like to start the panel discussion along with the eminent panelists that we have with us today. And it's often said that you cannot do things the same. You cannot do things the same way and expect different results. This applies to everything in life. In order to see change or difference, one needs to do things differently. So an organization cannot expect to see growth if they don't invest in skills development. And investing in skills development is beneficial to the organization as much as it is to the employees. Similarly, an entrepreneur is an agent of change. And entrepreneurship is the process of discovering new ways of combining resources. And entrepreneurs create change by innovation, thereby increasing jobs and contributing to the society. So having said this, I would panelists for the day. And for this session of promoting skills and entrepreneurship, we are privileged to have the presence of 4 eminent industry experts. And I would like to introduce them. I would, in no order of preference, Mr. Shrikant Sinha, the CEO of Telangana Academy of Skill and Knowledge, TASK, as it called as, and Dr. Anuj Kakkar, President and Executive Director, Aptech Limited. We have Ms. Marin Grace, Managing Director, Experience Transformation, Extended Reality Lead, Accenture Interactive in Advanced Technology Center, India. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Rajesh R. Turakia, founder and director of Frenchbox. Welcome all the panelists to the session. And I would probably, start with straight away start with the questions. First, I would like to start with Ms. Marion Grace, Accenture Interactive, which she heads. It sees experiences as the intersection of purpose and innovation to grow people, society, industries, and business. Interactive is in the business of experience. The powerful convergence of marketing and technology in today's marketplace means brands are no longer built through advertising, but through experiences. And Accenture Interactive connects deep human and business insights with the possibilities of technology to define and deliver new realities. So once again, I welcome Ms. Marin Grace, and I would like to start with you. Welcome, Ms. Marin.
Thank you, Shanish.
Yeah. So I would like to start by asking you, what do you think, since you come from the background of immersive education or immersive interaction, what do you think is the role of immersive learning for the future of workforce?
Okay, yes, thanks for that question. Retention, I would say. And science proves it. To 20% of what we heard and 30% what we saw, but we remember 90% of what we did. Immersive learning or allows us to do rather than just read, see, or hear. So to me, that is key to deeper learning and retention. And it actually results in about 76% increase in learning effectiveness compared to your traditional methods. So imagine the time when if flight simulators did not exist for pilot training. Imagine an emergency vehicle driver having to learn from his own mistakes in the real world. So one of the most compelling advantage of immersive learning to me, Srini, is people do not have to worry about making mistakes, which can be really costly in the real world, both in terms of our safety and in terms of the machine, right? So immersive learning creates that emotional engagement, which is comparable to real life. Constructions reuse the immersive learning. Now, so there is this University School of Medicine in Atlanta. They use immersive learning for surgeons. And they say that 40% fewer mistakes than surgeons who are conventionally trained. That's a big statement, isn't it? And Walmart, 70% of immersively learned employees, they say perform better than others in their learning evaluation. And they recorded a potential saving of 80% in training just by immersive learning. For their store managers, just before Black Friday, they institutionalized that in 200 training centers. So I can think of lot of examples like this: KLM Airlines, Farmers Insurance, British Petroleum. So in short, the benefits includes mirroring your real life situation, reducing your operational costs. You don't have to travel. You don't have to have expensive equipments for training. You can learn through your mistakes. And it also creates an increased engagement. And you can also have better analytics of how you're doing with your learning. So now we have your computer, your PC in your pockets, right? Your mobile phones, which are as good as your PC. We have our device costs getting lower. So with the right strategies on immersive learning, I think we can significantly improve the skills, experiential learning, retention, while reducing the cost.
Fantastic. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you because given the current situation and the future that we're looking at, I think immersive learning is the way to go, and I'm sure that you and Accenture Interactive will help us and guide us in that path of immersive learning. And thank you for your answer. I'll come back to you again. Let me go to Mr. Dr. Anuj Kakkad, President and Executive Director, Aptech Limited. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah, Aptech Limited is a global education and training company set up in 1986 and headquartered in Mumbai, India. The company has 800 centers in India and over 30 countries, including Africa, West Asia, South America, Russia, and Southeast Asia, through a franchisee model. And the company owns two of the most well-known and the leading brands in the AVDC industry, namely Arena Animation and Mac. So, welcome, sir. It's a pleasure to have you with us today in the session. And I would like to start with your first question. Being one of the pioneers in education, how do you ensure that your students are ready for the industry and are able to build a successful career?
Thanks, Srini. Thanks for inviting me to the show. Uh, Mr. Tiwari in his introductory remarks referred to the amount or the numbers of people which will be required for this industry going forward. And he referred to the fact that in the new NEP policy, how mainstreaming of the AVP sector has been envisaged. And that's such a welcome step, because one aspect of anything that we do is the numbers, because we owe that to the country and to the sector. So one is the numbers aspect. Now contrast this with the other aspect that Ms. Grace talked about, was in terms of the cutting edge technologies which need to be incorporated into the pedagogy, uh, so that the desired outcome is achieved. Now what, that's a wow element. Now I think what our company really wants to and has been doing it for the last 3 decades is marrying these two things. How do I bring cutting edge technology which is industry relevant to the numbers, to the masses? And that is where the forte and where the crux lies. So, I mean, just to give you a number, we train on an annually currently about 30 odd thousand students in the media and entertainment sector alone. Which makes us one of the biggest number suppliers to the industry manpower. Now, this is the mass scale, and we are talking about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities in this foray. So when you're talking employment or industry relevance, you need to take into account both these factors, what Ms. Grace talked about and what Mr. Tiwari talked about. And that is where we try to build our skills in making our courses industry relevant. Not only in terms of technology, because what is today's wow in technology as it has been 3 years later. So technology is just today's enabler to an employment scenario. But what we concentrate on even more than the technology element are the 4 or 5 things which ensures long-term employment of the student in the AVTC sector or media and entertainment in a broader sphere. Just for example, creativity. Creativity is something which it's a trainable skill. Uh, it's it's oft believed that it's inherent to a person. To a certain extent it is, but what we've understood is that creativity is a trainable skill, and we teach students how to become more creative in terms of observation and many other techniques. We built into our pedagogy other aspects which the industry requires, like teamwork, uh, working under deadlines, resilience, personality, communication. So it is an amalgamation of these skills which are required by the industry much beyond the technology skills, which of course are relevant for the employment itself. This ensures that the student is employable not only in his current first job, but also remains employment in the long-term career. He is not joining the industry with a 3-year horizon. He's joining the industry with a 30-year career span ahead of him, long after the current technologies are obsolete. So what is going to remain with him are aspects which I talked about. And we are 80% of our focus really goes into building those elements into our pedagogy. I'll give you just one example. There's no time to get into all of them. For example, if I talk about resilience, how do I build resilience into a person's life? We had a pandemic. We are going through a pandemic situation which has upset a lot of career paths. And similarly, there will be other mishaps in the 30 years working span of our student. So we teach him right in the beginning, while his mind is still trainable, how to withstand adversity. Adversities will come, small and big, in his life. So those are very inherent trainable skills which are imparted into our technology, into our pedagogy, so that he remains employable for life and remains relevant to the industry for life. I leave my answer at that broad level for the time being.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for touching upon that and telling it so beautifully. I will come back to you with the next question. In the meanwhile, I would go to Mr. Rajesh Turakia, founder and director of Framebox. Framebox is a leading national chain offering a skill-based curricula to help students specialize in their careers in AVGC. It is led by a team of animation professionals with over 20 years experience in the field and whose training studios have given the industry over 1 lakh students during this time. So welcome to the discussion, Mr. Rajesh. It's nice to have you here. Yeah. So I think you have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh, for being a part of the discussion. And we are really fortunate to have a big mix of education as well as immersive learning, technology, and a government-backed association being a part of the discussion. So, coming from Famebox, you would have trained so many students over the years. Now, with the COVID pandemic and in the present scenario, there are two situations created: the pre-COVID and post-COVID, and during the three situations during the COVID also. So, what hurdles have you observed in delivering online training and skill development, and what steps have been taken to ensure that the skill development or the skilling doesn't stop or doesn't take a break? So, what steps have you taken, and what challenges are you facing it?
Well, the sectors to close down during the lockdown was the education business. We were told to stop asking students to come into the classes 15 to 20 days before the national lockdown. So looking at the situation that was happening in the world, Wuhan and all these places, that this lockdown is going to be a little extended, we had already anticipated that we might have to go online, and we had transferred machines to our faculty's homes, made sure that they have enough bandwidth and to take the classes. And by, I think, 1st of April, we were actively online, and till today we have been delivering classes online. So mainly the anticipation of this long lockdown was the key, and we could actually put the machines in the faculty's homes, and therefore they could actually teach from there. So that was one of the major problems that we had, was bandwidth and getting everything in place and getting this, which identifying the software we'll use to deliver the coursewares, and making sure that the students are happy with what they're getting. In fact, what we see now is there is more attendance in classes than it was in actual classes, physical classes. That's one thing which is very, very encouraging. Also, parents are very happy because their children are safe in a safe environment. And I think because they have nothing else to do, they are actually putting a lot of effort into their education, or learning whatever they need to do. So this is something that has happened, and we think that this is now going to be a reality and ongoing. In fact, it's very good for us also, because infrastructure-wise, we do not need to have large infrastructure, but at the same time, we can reach large territories, large geographies, like large small cities and small villages. Also, the student can log on and get the benefit of the training. So we are looking at this as a very, very positive effect that has happened to the reach of the education, and to deliver the education. Yes, of course, there is no taking away from the physical contact and being with people, talking to people, and getting working in teams, working with people, because this is a team product. It's not something that one person does by himself. So learning how to work with a team is, of course, important. But I'm saying that even in the like we are doing right now, we are 5, 6 of us talking, and we don't feel that we are not on a stage. We are actually so these things are moving in the right direction. People are loving coming on the online and doing it. So I think it's not a very very, very detrimental thing that has happened to the industry. In fact, for us, it has been a positive, because we can now use our talent to deliver to multiple locations, multiple classes can be taken at one time. So all these things have been a positive, in my opinion, in the COVID section, and not a negative. And I'm looking at it that way. And looking at this going onward, yes, we are going to be online more and active more teaching this way.
Thank you, Mr. Rajesh. It's nice to hear some positive inputs and positive thoughts about the sector and the way the things are going in times of crisis like this. And I thank you for the answer that you have given on this question, because this is the question usually in the minds of all the people, because our field is basically a field where it requires a lot of involvement and a lot of practice and a lot of practical oriented courses. So we're all worried how this will go forward in helping long-term training, because online, if people get used to it, then yes, then probably that's the way forward.
Right.
Thank you once again. I'll come back to you. And let me go on to Mr. Shrikant Sinha. Mr. Shrikant Sinha, the CEO of Telangana Academy of Skill and Knowledge, TASK as it's known as. TASK is a not-for-profit organization created by Government of Telangana for bringing synergy among institutions of government, industry and academia with an objective of offering quality human resources and services to the industry. Welcome, Mr. Shrikant Sinha.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here on this panel. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Srini.
Thank you so much, sir. And I would start with my first question. Skills and the world go hand in hand. They are dynamic and subject to change. So how do you, as the CEO of TASK, cope up with it and help the skillful and the budding entrepreneurs integrate?
Sure, that's a wonderful question, a very relevant question given these times. I think what we need to understand as far as Telangana is concerned, in 2016, we came up with a AVGC policy itself. Probably one of the first states who come up with a policy itself, which actually creates a guidelines for what all facilities, what all benefits, what all incentives, etc., can be there for people who want to enter the space. We didn't stop over there. Early this year, we also launched the Image Tower, which is about 100,000 square feet of area, which will be created as a dedicated image tower itself, providing the best of infrastructure, best of R&D facilities, best of prototyping machineries, best of all kinds of CDVI, etc., labs, etc., and everything else that is being created. And why this is being done is because, as you rightly said, right, the world of skills. I think if you look at ourselves, and of course my ex-colleague Anuj and Rajesh, etc., would also agree with it, that during in our day and age, right, if we look at ourselves today, right, we used to play with something called as Mechano. Then it became Mechanics. Then it became Lego. And then it became Let Go. So the biggest problem is that our people don't use their hands much. Today, if you look at our schools itself, right, you need to start training people by drawing. How many of our schools actually have arts or drawing or any of these things? Because this is something that will be required in the industry in the future, right? And that's where the challenge is. How do you make the people ready for this kind of an industry? And of course, entrepreneurship also built along with it. So today, there are two things that are happening. One is we realize that today, the large organizations that are there in this space also are feeling the brunt of the pandemic and they are scaling down, which is the reality and which we cannot deny. But having said that, I think the number of jobs that are opening up in this industry itself, right, and especially with the work from anywhere philosophy, right? So as you said, I call it as BC before Corona, AC after Corona, and of course your new word which I'm taking on from now on, that is DC also in between, during Corona. So I think during Corona, what is most important is for people to take it as not as a lockdown year, but a year when you need to reskill yourselves. Like Anand said, we also are imparting the 21st century skills. Normally people call it the soft skills, but I prefer calling it the essential skills. Because today, if you look at it, resilience, adaptability, working in teams, design thinking, all these are very, very crucial for people to sustain and survive. Coming to the aspects of entrepreneurship, I think the more avenues that are there in entrepreneurship, because today India has to have a country and of job, not only of job seekers, but job creators also. And that is where I think today the whole ecosystem has to work in a hub and spoke model. The reason why we are creating this image tower here in Telangana is that smaller entrepreneurs also can use the facilities over there. While the big people would have the labs, etc., they could actually use these kinds of facilities. TASK has been working, and we have a body called Twaga over here, similar to Yorabai over there in Karnataka, Shini, where a lot of programs are happening. Every year we have the image, the trade fair kind of a thing, which last time it was called as India Joy Week, and it was a full 1 week program. Where we looked at all the different aspects of not only the AVGC industry, but media and in the larger aspect also. So we are trying to encourage the youth into it. We, in fact, Twaga partnered with Task, and we sent more than 7,000 students to actually witness what is happening over there. And they were able to get exposed to all the big stalwarts like Biren Ghosh and a lot of other people who were there, Rajesh, etc., all were there, and Mike was there, and a lot of people they got exposed to. I think so. What is important is helping people understand as to what kind of a path they can create for themselves. And of course, as I said, the state is creating infrastructure, providing help, support for them to scale up and take it forward. Probably with this, I would like to end now in interest of time. Happy to answer any more questions later on.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you, Mr. Srikanth. Thank you so much. I think Karnataka and Telangana are the two states which have taken the lead, and good to see that all the other states are following, and even the central departments, also central government, also is looking at it. And I would also like to make a special mention. A few days back, Honorable Prime Minister mentioned about toy making and gaming industry to be nurtured and grown. He asked, because as you rightly said, hands. So toy making is where you use hands, and computer gaming or animation is where you combine the technical skills along with the artistic skills. So it's the need of the hour where we have the artistic skills and the technical skills combined to be that kind of skilled artist to the country.
Absolutely. One thing which is there is that, sorry, I'm just adding one more word over here, that all the jobs that are existing now will be always on the cusps. So whether it's agri-tech, med-tech, whatever it might be, is along with tech. So tech is here to stay for sure. And we need to build on that.
Absolutely, because technology is just an enabler. I mean, the main is the creativity, and the technology is just an enabler. So the kind of characters and content that we create is more important. So the hand skills are very, very important. And I'm sure that all the schools today in the country have started from the drawing skills. And most of them, I think, have been starting from the drawing skills only. And so I think we all know what is what we are going towards, and we should all get back to the basics and start from there and then develop on that. So thank you once again. I'll come back to you with my next question. Before that, I would like to go back to Ms. Marin. Ms. Marin, welcome again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Marin, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. So welcome back. And I would like to pose my next question to you. Again, coming back to the pandemic that we are in, can you give your point of view on the business of experience in these times of uncertainty?
Okay. Interesting. I was just thinking about Anurag talking about resiliency and Srikanth talking about how it is coming to be a sign of opportunity. So it is true the pandemic has changed the structure of pretty much every experience of ours. How and what we buy, how and where we work, how we interact with people. Uncertainty sure persists. And we spoke about earlier, we spoke about schools having taken years to go. We would have imagined that schools would take years to go digital. Now, can you imagine our kids doing virtual tests today? So look at Amazon and our Indian startup Swiggy, how quickly they have adapted to the new. Swiggy got into delivery of essentials and groceries from food delivery. Amazon revamped their sites real time, almost on a daily update. As I was just watching them, they were like delivering only essentials. And the next few days later, they said back to delivery of everything in your zone, and then zero touch delivery. And think about governments. Different governments across the globe are wanting to quickly launch solutions for stop corona, providing information or platforms for stimulus packages, helping the citizens. So, of course, there is a lot of change coming our way. And if you look at the paradigm shift, our consumer behavior is shifting, right? Most obvious is, of course, the shift to digital. Anything that can be done online, yes, and often for the first time. And you talk about the relationship shift. People are turning to brands that they feel will provide security, that they can trust in times of uncertainty. Third one is about the engagement shift. While some have gone online for the first time, others who typically likes digital have been forced to visit stores when delivery slots were scarce. And then habit shift, alongside emphasis on hygiene and hand washing, people are seeking fitness classes online and returning to the weekly big shop for the first time in years. And expectations are also shifting, right? People's expectations of business and brands are rising. So I believe, or rather, we believe the three lenses of creating good brand experience in uncertain times is one, empathize. Businesses that listen, learn, and evolve with empathy will emerge stronger. So have people at the heart of how you design and constantly evolve our experiences. Second, it's about adapting. Uh, of course, there is an acute acceleration of the 10-year digital trend, which means we have to continuously change. And about third is about, I would say, it's about reinventing the right initiatives for the newer normal. So the other day, I was listening to Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella during his recent quarterly earnings call, and he was saying we have seen 2 years of digital transformation in just last 2 months. So I think, as Shrikant, Rajesh, and Anush said earlier, in crisis there is an opportunity, and now is our chance to reinvent.
Fantastic. I think people watching this would be really feeling happy because so much of positivity in the entire discussion. And that's what I like about this, because everybody is so positive in spite of seeing some 6 months of downtime on this due to this crisis. So thank you once again, Marin. Probably will again leave the field open after all the questions are done. We have a couple of open questions too, and probably if there are any questions cropping up from the audience, we will take that too. Thank you so much. Again, coming back to Dr. Anuj, sir, welcome back again.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So now we have heard to the other speakers also talk about immersive learning, to times of distress, this crisis, how students are keeping keeping pace with the changing needs, and also to Mr. Shrikant about how entrepreneurship and skill building is happening from their particular organization and state. Changes in the technology training as well as in the studios. So how are you? Because for the last 3 decades, trained lakhs of students, and probably everywhere you go across in the world, you will find a arena or a Mac student working in some industry. How are you helping students right now in keeping the training relevant to the needs of the industry? And what do you see the way forward in able to match the industry requirements that is constantly evolving? So how are you helping the students keeping pace?
From a technology change angle, right?
Yes.
Okay. See, Shrikant talked about EdTech. In my personal view, the very coinage of this term EdTech, puts too much emphasis on tech part and less emphasis on the ed part. I think that conceptually is something which the finance world loves and the investing world loves, because it implies scalability and therefore valuation. But to my mind, the first syllable, the ed part of it, is equally and more important, which is tech, as we said earlier, as an enabler. Now, again, when we talk about ed tech, the first thing which comes to our mind is reach. Now suddenly I can reach, million more people than what I could earlier. Great. But equally important, and perhaps in my mind more important, is what do you do with the individuals of that million person once you have reached it? And that's where the ed part of it kicks in, using technology. Now, I'll give you, since we are talking about ABTC sector, let me choose an example from the animation world and tell you what we have been doing. For a very long time, we had physical books, right, for teaching animation. That went off quite a few years back, and we had standard PDF versions of the same physical books, which appeared on the student screen, and he used to go through those books in his learning process. Now, but when we realize there's something conceptually wrong in trying to teach what is essentially a 3D skill, essentially a 3D visualization through a 2D flat PDF document. So we started utilizing augmented reality in the classroom. So we are not only teaching him augmented reality, we are teaching him through augmented reality. So today, all our books are augmented in augmented reality. So a student has an app, he points it to the screen, and the relevant lesson framework pops up. Let's say a character, he's trying to design a character. So the character comes up, he can play around with it, decide what kind of lighting is needed, see it on his app, on his phone, and play around, and therefore go up the learning process. And that is one element of how we are using technology into the pedagogic process. See, technology always has a wow element, which is the first is the wow element, which now today I can do this, which is great. So our job is to turn that wow into how. How is this going to be useful for the student apart once that wow is gone off? And equally more important is the now, because this technology, unless it's used now, is going to be obsolete 2 years later. So we work at a breakneck speed, trying to keep our pedagogy aligned with the technology as they exist. Another element from the same thing, as you said, we teach roughly 30,000 students a year, and any given point of time, we have 100,000 students in our system spread across 30 countries. Now, being a visual medium, how do I enable him to learn better than in his own individual room or in the individual class? So we have designed a portal where lakhs of projects are uploaded by our own students. Right now, it's not open to the wide world. They upload their projects. Using AI, the site evaluates and grades those visual elements and then is able to throw up those characteristics which are of a visual element which is relevant to him, and therefore it becomes a learning process for a student. He knows then, okay, I've done lighting well, but maybe I need to work more on my rendering or whatever other aspects are lacking, and the site helps him to do this. He's able to relate to other people. He's able to grade, there's a rating scale, there is a thing. And plus, all potential employers are able to see these students' work on the site itself. So if I am an employer and I want to recruit from Arena, and let's say I want to recruit a graphic artist. So, you do your search and you pick up, do your keywords, and, let's say the system suggests these 100 people whom you may like, and their work is displayed for you to choose from. Suppose you like a particular student's work, you just click on that student and see that student's other work, and also throws up how the student has evolved from the time he joined and where he has reached now. So for an employer, it's a visual tool. Now, these are elements of technology which are adapted and used for bettering the learning process and also enabling him to get a job. And more importantly, for the employer to find the student. Today, while we have 30,000 students, we have 100,000 potential jobs even today. So my problem is not placing students. My problem is attracting enough students to fulfill those 100,000 jobs, which are even today there in this available to our students. But the right student, matching the right student to the right thing. So there are a number of ways you can use technology. Then we are trying to look at every element and try to see how we can use it, how is it relevant. As I said, transform the wow to the now, but do it now.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, sir. That was a nice way of putting it from wow to how now. That's wonderful. Wow, how now. So I think that sums up what education industry is going through in terms of technology enhancement and what we can look forward to. And coming back to Mr. Rajesh. Welcome back again, Mr. Rajesh. Mr. Rajesh?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So I'm touching upon a small topic which is again debatable. It's about freelancers. So with increase in freelancers, and with the present situation, okay, where people are working from home and mostly work from home is happening. So going forward, do you think the freelance culture will increase and students opting for freelancing will be more? Will it affect the employment in the AVDC industry in terms of students opting for jobs, or and also for the studios are looking for students to fill their jobs? In what way will it affect the sector as such?
Let's go back to the US industry, which is very, very mature. And from 20 years, they've been working with freelancers. Of course, the freelancers used to either work at home and bring the job in, or later on when the internet became powerful, put it via the internet. But mainly, there were a lot more freelancers because this industry is from project to project. Once you have a project and then suddenly you will have nothing for some time, then again, so the studios also liked to not have bench time for their animators. They would rather have freelancers coming in and working and going away. So there was a lot of that going on abroad. In India, the animators were wanting that sense of security, and they wanted jobs, and they did not want to look at the freelance kind of way of working. But this COVID has forced them to think that way now, because they cannot go to work. They have to actually now try and do the work from home. And it has been quite successful from what I hear from Maya Digital or from the Reliance team. They've done some fantastic work during this time, and they've delivered a lot of projects in the COVID times. So this is something that is going to happen. Freelance is something very good. I had a webinar in which we had the Maya team speaking, and they said that we are advising people not to buy that expensive Apple phone. Instead, buy a nice machine and a nice chair to work from at home so that you're comfortable. Do not waste your money on that phone. Put your money, invest it in this, and you will be employable. So this has become very, very important now. For maybe like a lakh of rupees, a lakh and a half, you have now got a method to work and actually deliver product from home or from wherever you want to do so. It will become your tool, and every person, every student that comes out doesn't need to look for a job. He can actually just keep on delivering to different projects. The second thing is animators love to work on certain projects. So if you are stuck with one studio, you may not get a chance to work with another project, right, because that project is being run in another studio. So freelancers would love to do that. I would like to work on a Hulk, or I would like to work on a Little Mermaid, or I would like to work on, Lion King, whatever. So you can do that if you're a freelancer. But if you're stuck with a job, you may not be able to do so. So therefore, the freelance way is going to become a very nice way of getting all the talent that you need for the studios and avoiding bench time. And for the animator, he will get nice projects to actually choose and work on. So overall, if the person invests in the right way instead of that expensive phone or whatever else, but if he invests in a nice system at home, even immediately after he comes out of a education institute, you can even take that and keep it and work with from the home. Also, I hear there are going to be a lot of loans. Like MESC says that if you get with the MESC qualified certifications, you may get loans at a very, very reasonable rate for investing in these kind of things to start your own business. So Media and Entertainment Skill Council is also promoting you to become an entrepreneur, and which would be more like a freelancer. So this is something that I think is going to be here to stay, and COVID has forced the situation such that now people are accepting it.
Great. Yeah. I think you're true in telling this, and thanks for enlightening us on the MESC's initiative too, because I believe that this particular field, for example, if you take Karnataka, if I have to cite an example, there are more than 300 studios operating out of Karnataka, and almost about more than 30% of the studios are operated by or run by fresh graduates who have just passed out of their institutions and they set up on their own. And I think that's it will go a long way in encouraging such people. And I think we should come up with better policies or better help that we can give to these budding young entrepreneurs who would create jobs in the industry rather than go in search of jobs, but create jobs in our AV sector, which is the need of the hour. Thank you very much, Mr. Rajesh. Coming back to Mr. Srikanth Sinha. Welcome back, Mr. Srikanth.
Yes, I'm there.
Thank you. So again, talking about another aspect here. Once we spoke about freelancers now and how it's going to affect the industry in a good or a bad way. Now we have to talk about the multiple layoffs that are happening during this scenario. So in this present scenario with multiple layoffs, what do you think is the what do you think should be the plan for skilling and reskilling? And what is the future of the aspiring employees? And how do they cope up with this? And how does the industry cope up with this?
Sure. Before I come to that, I'll probably add one more thing to what my colleague Rajesh has said. I think what is important for us to understand is IR 4.0 was already there. We were talking about Industrial 4.0 already being there, and with the digital citizens that are there, the millennials that are coming up, and the younger generation that are coming up, I think what is important for people to also to realize is that future of job is also changing. Right, so you will have the gig economy coming in sooner than later, and that's where entirely your thing, as Rajesh rightly said, the gig economy is exactly what he said, which is working from project to project. As it is, I think probably this industry would be the first to adopt gig economy. Yep, institutions like Framebox and Arena, etc., are doing a phenomenal job of training the people. But then they would be working in a gig economy model, and that's where things would happen. Talking about the multiple layoffs, etc., I think governments need to be very proactive and look at it. And if you look at Telangana itself, I have a partnership with Coursera, where we are looking at 50,000 people who are either unemployed or between jobs, right? Essentially, people who have been laid off due to various reasons, etc. We are skilling them up, right, in a partnership with Coursera, so that they can upskill themselves and get employed. As the Honorable Prime Minister said, right, the need is skill, upskill, reskill. And that's what we have been talking about. If you look at it, and this has been my thing, and we've been talking about it since a very, very long time, is that we need to remember one thing, that it is not 17 plus 4 plus full stop. Right? But it is 17 plus 4 plus 40. Right? So till the time you are in your working life itself, you need to learn, unlearn, relearn. And that's how things will happen. So this is a reality which is there existing with everyone, and especially with the youngsters. Now, having said that, I think if we look at the new education policy itself, right? The new education policy is talking about skills being actually important, internship, apprenticeship becoming an essential part of the whole thing. I think this is going to open up a huge lot of things. See, today, if you look at large organizations, they have got the money, they have got the wherewithal of putting people on a bench and training them for 6 months, right? But if you look at a small organization or a small studio, they would not have the time for it. Right? So it's important for students to get immersed into various organizations. And that's probably what students should do right now. They should take up internship opportunities. Work from home is a wonderful thing that is there. And, I really love the way Anuj spoke about the wow to how to now. Right? And that is what is important. Today, we need to understand that, look, we are in an age of edutainment. Right? And again, I'm not putting tainment as the most important thing. I think the leader, which is edu, is most important, right? Having been in the field for 32 years plus. So the thing is, how do you help people learn? We have to change the way. This is a unique opportunity. We should not let this crisis go. Our entire education system, the way we teach students, the way we educate them, we skill them, has to change. Why are we trying to replicate whatever is happening in a class online, and we call it as online education? I think we are doing a grave mistake to, call it online education because we are doing it that way. What probably we need to look at is what Anuj spoke about, augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, extended reality, etc., also coming into play. Just to give you a very, very small example, and I go back, generations ago when I was wearing in a previous avatar the head of school education at Aptech. We came up with a model where we had an underwater aquarium, and we had various characters to teach education, to teach people computers, right? Then we moved on, and I moved into another where, for banking industry, we used a Candy Crush engine to help people, understand when a check or a draft should be passed or not. Moving on to another time where we helped Acer create serious games to to imbibe values and culture, right? Now, technology has moved over these years. We need to see how more of such immersive technologies, as Marine also said, can be implemented, can be brought down. And I think that's where the aspiring employees also need to get exposed to and learn about various industries, right? Today, if you look at it, for example, a doctor, when he's looking at a 3D printed heart before a heart surgery, the chances of his doing an open heart surgery would be much better. I think that's what we need to realize, how, and STEM is already become STEM, right? So we need to continue with the STEAM and continue further and ensure that we are able to give a holistic education to all our aspiring employees for the future, or entrepreneurs also, because I think entrepreneurship is something which is very, very important. And not only talking about city level entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship in the rural and the districts also, because that's where India resides. Hope I answered your question.
Wonderful. Nothing better than this. I think you have answered it very well, and I'm sure all the students, entrepreneurs, and the studios and the employees who are watching this will definitely take a lot of points from these answers, and I'm sure we would be able to make a difference in their approach towards life post-COVID. Thank you once again. We just have about 5 minutes, and I thought we will have a general question, and probably all of us, let's talk about it for about 5 minutes, and then I think we can close the session, because I think 11:30 is the stop for the session. So what I would like to ask is how to accelerate, how should the country or the state support in the acceleration of skilling in the AVC sector? And how much will framed policies help in the same? What's that government, state, or the center should do, are doing, and how to work, as you already touched upon that point, how to work on the National Education Policy 2020 for skilling, especially in the AVC sector. So this is a very broad question. So all of us could take just 1 minute to talk. If you all give the permission, probably I'll start with my 1 minute and then go on to each one of you. If I have the permission, can I continue? Yeah, thank you. So since I represent Karnataka, from Karnataka, what we are doing a project called the Digital Arts Center project for the government of Karnataka, which is supported by the Ministry of IT/BT. And this we are running for the last 3 years now. And here what we do is we identify the fine art colleges across Karnataka. There are about close to about 100 fine art colleges in Karnataka, where we have very skilled artists learning painting or sculpting or other forms of traditional art. So what we do is we go there, we set up the lab, we install the hardware, software, put the trainers there, and we give them the digital skills. As Mr. Shrikant Sinha spoke about skilling, upskilling, and reskilling. So what we are doing is they're already skilled artists. We are upskilling them to digital artists, and probably reskilling will happen when they enter the industry, and then they would like to reskill themselves on other softwares. So we're doing this upskilling from skilling. That is, we are giving them the digital exposure from the traditional exposure that they already have. They are wonderful artists on a canvas. They become good artists, very good artists on the digital front also. And we handhold them and we place them in studios. So that's what we're doing from the government of Karnataka. This is my take from the Karnataka state government point of view and from the Abai point of view. And we also have a finishing school where one aspect that we probably didn't touch upon is for more than 2 decades, I've been hearing about this gap between the industry and the academia, that the industry says that the students are not up to the industry, and how we are trying to plug those gaps. So probably when you're answering, you can touch upon it in a small way and then go to the bigger way of how to accelerate skilling in AVC sector. So with this, I pass on to probably to Mr. Rajesh. You can start and then continue further.
The first gap that you talked about between the education and then the studio, because I've been on both sides of the business. The main difference is that when a student is learning, he doesn't have any pressures of real project or a client shouting at him or the team telling him to pass down his work or him not getting work from upstream, downstream, all these things have to be done. So the best way for anything that can be done, what we do at our centers also, and I would like the government, if they can put it up like you have done in Bangalore, put up an incubation center in Bombay or in all the states that for that matter, and that incubation center gives all kinds of equipment to the students and gives free access to people who cannot start their projects. Everybody wants to make a project and make a pilot or a little trailer or a little something to show, a Bible to show to the clients before they can be greenlit for any kind of project. So those clients can get it free. The students can work on it for free or maybe some kind of internship, and the government provides the wherewithal for it. So because like a rendering farm and all these things which are required now, of course, with things like Unreal and Unity, you may not require those things every day. It keeps on changing. But an incubation center where somebody from the industry who's a good supervisor takes these students, gives them a project, helps them work in that environment, and it come out studio ready. So once he comes in the studio, the only thing he'll have to learn is their pipeline. Other than that, he would know everything else. So the training time for the studio also will become less. Maybe some studios can support this incubation center, and the government can support it in the ways they can. The second thing is that we have been always treated like a non-entity. Our education system does not be recognized by banks. Students get a very hard time trying to get a loan. If he says he's going to do animation, means if they feel he's going to get no job, he's doing cartoons, what is the point of him, giving him a loan kind of thing. So there are no recognized institutions that give loan easily to students. It is improving now a little bit, but it is not yet there. So loans should be given. And secondly, universities don't have GST, but we as institutes have GST. So that becomes an expense on the student. At the end of the day, we don't take it home. We have to pay to the government, and the student just pays extra for nothing. So maybe till the time that the universities and schools have matured and are putting out students like, say, in the IT business, and till then, there should be some kind of exemption for the GST for these institutes, recognized by maybe MESC or whatever. There can be some guidelines put by the government, which will make it easier for the students. It will be less burden on the students. So less burden on the students, a loan facility if possible, incubation center, and I think that will be very, very encouraging to the industry.
Very rightly said. Both about the gap addressed, and also you were talking about the loans. Being in the education industry for the last more than 2 decades, the animation students are not considered for such kind of facilities. As to the extent of an ordinary bus pass is not given because it's not a recognized field by the country or by the state. That should be mentioned, because this training vertical has been in the country for about 30 years now almost, and I think we should get our due, and I think the government should help in getting us this due. And for the incubation, yes, we already have an incubation center in Bangalore. What all you have said, it's already been incorporated, and we are running an incubation center inside the Center of Excellence, where we encourage students, we encourage entrepreneurs, we give studios space at subsidized prices, and we have mentors for studios to take up projects. So with a small way we have started, I think we have to make it a little big, much bigger. We need the support of inside the state, all the major players, plus the major players across the country, and the central government, of course. And now on to, thank you, sir. On to Dr. Anup Kakkar, your points or your view on the same about how do we accelerate skilling, and what should the central government or the state governments do in order, and how national education policy could be, how to work on it for skilling.
Yeah, you know me, Srini, for a long time now. I'm a born optimist. The fact that the government has instituted vocational education right into the middle school in the national education policy is signaling a change in mindset. Okay, and the fact that Mr. Atul Tiwari is spending so much time with us in this, and I would love to hear his views post my comments, is that it's a fact again of a government which is now getting responsive of wanting to align itself to the needs of this industry. And I've seen this not only in the ABGC sector. I've seen it. I'm part of the MESC, Media and Entertainment Skill Council. I'm also part of the Beauty and Wellness Sector Skill Council, and in many other forums. And I see this change. So I think the government is today well aware and is today recognizing the need to bring this into the mainstream. I think that's a great first step forward. Yeah, there are issues of investments, there are issues of who can do what and all of that, and which require a larger platform or more time to debate. But I'll just leave with a very small example of what can be done. Like in Mumbai, we have something called a Nehru Science Center, which is one of the very good ways of inculcating curiosity into a school going child, that he gets exposed to certain things of science, and thereby the thought was that it is going to inculcate a scientific temper or scientific bent of mind. But that was 40 years back. That same thing should today be an artificial intelligence center of many of the things which are relevant today. That change has to percolate down the government into various kinds of decision makers which exist. And I'm sure it'll happen because I'm seeing it happening. But it needs to happen in a much faster and an accelerated fashion. And I'll have to hear Mr. Atul Tiwari's views also on what's happening on the other side of the chair, because they have worked with so many constraints as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We will go to him too. I'm sure he must be viewing this. Quickly, Ms. Marin, your thoughts on the same? Thank you, thank you, Dr. Anuj. Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry.
I totally agree with you, Srini, Rajesh, and Anuj's point of view. So Rajesh talked about the incubation centers, and his point of view is right in terms of reducing the gap between the industry and the focusing on the job-ready graduates, and co-funded skill development programs, which is market-led and industry-led trainings. And look at you, Srini. You have set up the largest COE for animation and gaming in Bangalore, the finishing school that we talked about. So my point of view is we need those, and we need more of those.
Great. Yeah. In fact, I would like to invite all of you to come to Center of Excellence and try to join hands with us in creating a better facility there. Thank you, Marin. And now, Mr. Srikanth, your thoughts on the same?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I'm going to answer this with the two hats. One is my past hat and one is my current hat of the government. So the past hat is the first one, where I feel that, today we are doing a grave mistake by setting up skills universities, right? Skilling should be in the university itself. You should not create separate university on skills to compete with your normal universities. Where will they get their students from? So skills should be integrated, and probably walk in a new avatar should be coming out in a different way in the colleges itself. So that's my thought. Looking at the government part of it, as I said, 2016 onwards, Telangana government has got this policy. And apart from whatever my other colleagues have said, I think what is important is if you look at the cost of resources and the abundant human resources in Telangana is one of the major things. If I look at the existence of domestic players, of course, we have our local Chota Bheem, as well as we have Walt Disney, Sony Entertainment, we have Prime Focus, Purple Talk, everyone is there in Telangana. We provide low cost of living as well as transportation and world-class social amenities. Major opportunities in Bollywood and Tollywood and post-production works are here in Telangana. And of course, as I said, 100,000 square feet of dedicated facility, the Image Tower coming up, 60,000 square feet of dedicated infrastructure, which is shared infrastructure, and a COE along with STPI, and the only STPI-driven facility. I think we have also got a very, very strong proven track record of IT. If you look at the ITS exports, ITS exports of the government itself, on a national level was 8.09%, while if you look at Telangana, it was 17.93%. So we are more than double the national. So we have a proven track record, and of course we have, as I said, a dedicated policy and scheme in place to provide a real conducive environment for this growing industry.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your thoughts on the same, Mr. Srikanth. Now, quickly request, because we are already overshot by 8 minutes, but we definitely, all of us would love to hear from Mr. Atul Kumar Tiwari what he feels about this discussion and what his views are on on this sector and the support that they can extend to this sector after hearing to all of us speak about it. So, sir, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Sri Bhaktaji, for handling the discussion so well, and I'm very grateful to all the panelists, Dr. Anuj Kakkar, Sri Srikant Sinhaji, Ms. Marian Grace, and Rajesh Turakhyaji for giving their frank ideas. I'm convinced that India has a lot to offer in terms of content creation and skills to all over it, or to the world. And we are entering into a new paradigm in which what shall I say, the government or the institution, they think that it is all right to question things, create solutions, think out of the box to solve problems, and create growth and wealth and prosperity. And it's not only for India, but for the rest of the world. And the ABGC sector is also, you would all agree, is also related to the concept of the soft power. And India has so much to offer by our variegated cultures, languages, areas, folklores, etc., etc. As the panelists said, that technology is just an enabler, but we have to allow the students to think creatively. And I'm very much encouraged by the examples set by Telangana, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Pune, and other areas. And it will be our policy to our endeavor to create situations where the dots are joined together, and there is, as I can see, there is a valorization of vocational education in the new education policy. It is being merged with the normal education policies. This is the first attitudinal change which we are talking about. That is where we have made our intentions very clear. And I'm sure that we'll be able to find solutions and work together to insert ABGC, etc., in the education system itself. As Srikant Sinhaji was saying, having a skilling university is not the answer. We do not, किसी को पृथक नहीं रखना है, सबको साथ लेके चलना है. और जिस तरह से कोविड सिचुएशन में डिजिटल मेथड्स का यूज करके ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन की बात आपने की, एजुटेनमेंट की बात की, एडटेक की बात की, सारी चीज मुझे विश्वास होता है कि वी आर इन अ मिड्स ऑफ द पीपल हु आर कमिटेड and to bring certain changes in the ABGC sector. As from the government side, we have a lot to learn from the state governments. We have a lot to do with the other industries. And the GST thing which has been talked about, Turakhyaji, it was discussed yesterday also. And Nirja Bhatiaji is here, so she is giving us a paper on that. And we will try our best to create a conducive working environment for the people in ABGC sector. Thank you so much. It has been a great learning experience for me. And thank you, Sri Bhaktaji, for handling it so well. Thank you, all the panelists. Namaste.
I'll just take 5 seconds, if Mr. Tiwari, could you, it's a suggestion only partly in the lighter vein. Maybe the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting should re-nomenclature itself and Ministry of Content Enablement. Because the days of information and broadcasting is long time gone. It's very anachronistic today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and thank you to all the wonderful panelists.
Thank you, Mr. Tiwari.